Well, hello there. I'm Jacob,
Lovely.
and we are the Obi Foreign Alliance. Would you like to tell the audience what video we're doing?
So today, due to a subscriber's request, we're going to be reacting to another episode of Always Sunny in Philadelphia. This one, the subscriber requested, could we review Season 3, Episode 4, which is Dennis and Dees' mother's dies. This, coincidentally, I don't know if the reason they requested this was because this week on the Always Sunny Philadelphia podcast, they actually discussed this episode. So I'm wondering if that's why they brought it up, because they'd been listening to the podcast. But it is a very funny episode from one of the earlier seasons, and I think Jacob might like it. I can see why they chose it, because it's similar-ish to the one we reviewed last week. Well, reacted, sorry. So I don't know if that's what the people want. We give people what they want. Let's react to another episode.
Yeah.
Before we get into it, what are you expecting? What did you think of the last episode? You liking this show?
I really enjoyed it. I can see why some people would like it. I think the situation could have been sorted very easily, but I don't think the comedy would work by logic, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's a very interesting show, and if we do continue to react to episodes, you'll see why. Weirdly now, the last episode was season 12 or something, I think, so you're going back, quite a few seasons,
That's
but
what the person wanted.
But, you might still like it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into it.
Do you think this episode is as good as the other episode?
Oh, maybe not. I only say that because the episode we reacted to was one of my top 5 episodes, and this is, maybe not, but yeah, it's as good, but it's not my favourite.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so what are you thinking so far? 4 minutes in, we've kind of seen what the episode's set up to be. So what's it setting up for us here?
My guess is that the son is getting the house, but somehow he'll end up losing the house and end up not winning, because it seems like a trend that they end up getting something, and then the plot ends up that it could have been an easy solution, but they don't see it that way. They overcomplicate things, and yeah.
Yeah, pretty much correct. That's how most episodes this go, that they either do something bad and get away with it, or something good could happen to them and they find a way to ruin it. And yeah, that's essentially what happens here. Interestingly about this episode, it's the first time we see this lawyer. He is a reoccurring character that's in about 6 different episodes, and he wasn't in the one that you watched last, which is strange, because he, being a lawyer, you'd think that he would have. But I believe in an episode somewhere between here and there, he cuts ties with them and says he never wants to speak to them again, and that's why they don't go to him in that episode. A funny fact I learnt this week about this episode is originally they didn't have intentions for them to think that they could talk to their dead mother through the lawyer.
Okay.
But Danny DeVito did it by mistake when he was making up lines, and then they continued to just do it. And it's quite funny that they're like, "You tell her this," and he's like, "I can't speak to her; she's dead." He's like, "Well, you tell her that." It's a funny joke that they continue on. So yeah, it's setting up for pretty much what you said.
And do we actually get to see this other person that is apparently their father, or?
Yeah, we do. I'm not going to spoil that for you, but you do get to see him. And I think he features in a couple of episodes too. And I don't know if it's in this episode that something else happens with this house, or it might be the next episode, but this house continues for a little bit. So it's quite a funny talking point for the season.
Okay.
Okay, let's get into it. So we're at the halfway point. We've worked out that they've realised they have no friends because they're bad people. They've either slept with their sisters, they've set them on fire, or their friends have taken their own lives. So they have no friends besides themselves, and they're looking for new friends. Whilst Dee and her dad have trying to cook up a scheme to try and get their
fortune.
Yeah, their family's money, which their dead mother's given to this guy to give to charity. And you can see how this is all somehow going to go wrong with the fortune, and something's going to go wrong with the house. And I just remembered that there's something that happens funny with them trying to find friends. So it's starting to pan out. Thoughts on the episode so far compared to the other?
I think it's interesting with the with them bringing in the mother character. I guess maybe she was in the previous seasons, but yeah, it's definitely in other aspects it was better. But I've noticed in the other episode there was one. They were all together, but they had different perspectives. But in this episode, there's two different storylines, and they're trying to get their own way, but they're going to fail miserably.
Yeah, and it's quite common in this show to do that, to have the split storylines, whether they split off and they're competing or they're doing opposite things, but I think that's what allows you to do with an ensemble cast. You can run multiple storylines at once. Ultimately, as mentioned before, makes this show clever is that the gang always find a way to ruin a good situation or make a bad situation worse. And that's what makes it funny. And somehow a gang of people that, are quite degenerate somehow are lovable. So you can tell that something's building up here. Being a comedy, it doesn't need to be epic. It's just looking for laughs. And you can see that something funny's building.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one last discussion before we watch the final bit and then review the whole thing. So we see Dennis and Mac trying to make new friends, and it's coming off very creepy. They've had
failing miserably.
They made the flyers that are meant to look like muscles but look like penises. The flyer does clearly state that it's nothing sexual, that they want these friends, which comes across even more creepy. Charlie's found a friend who's reading out Dee, who we can see on screen, her diary, which they make reference to her being the aluminum monster, which is an ongoing joke in the series where when she was at school she broke her back, so she had to wear this big brace, and they refer to her as the aluminum monster. And then so we're left with Dee and Frank trying to continue this lie that they want to adopt kids and that they're partners to try and get some money. And now they're in a situation where the guy that has the money is saying that he wants to see them have sex in order to be able to make a proper judgment. And again, it shows that them getting themselves into worse scenarios than what they probably should have if they just were truthful. Still liking this episode?
Yeah.
It's probably not as in-your-face funny as the last one we watched, but I think it's clever. There's more cleverness to it, and you can see even through the comments of the people that have commented on our video so far that the common trend is people that like this show see it as being clever, which it is. There's more to it than just the comedy we see at hand. Okay, let's watch the last little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so you were right. They found a way to lose the house, and they seemingly got caught out for being the worst people and would continue to sell a lie just to get money, and exactly what we thought would happen. Overall, compared to what you've seen, better or worse than the first episode you watched?
I think it was more insane than the other episode of the lengths of what they were going to, but I think the incident in the other episode was better, but I think definitely good episode.
Yeah, and again, it proves that, you know, there is no length to the things they will go to sell a lie and to try and sneak people out of money, that ultimately they could have just been happy with the house, but instead they continued and wanted more money, and eventually he lost the house, even though he didn't really do anything wrong, except for he violated the one thing that he was asked not to do, was to let his father in the property. It's quite a funny twist. Whether or not that's realistic, and I don't really understand why the mother has the money and Frank doesn't, but it's not really explained. But it is again another clever episode that I'm glad someone suggested for us to get you to react to. Maybe the same person might suggest another episode for us. Trying to think some interesting points from that I know from this episode. I believe the whole joke with the bicep and the penis looking was kind of like a mistake. Like, I think they actually did want it to look like a bicep, and then they realized it looked like a penis, and they're like, oh, we can make this a joke. So I don't know if that was fully their intention, but it was quite funny. Beyond that, there's, like, this show's quite unscripted at times, so some of the funniest lines they come up with are just, off the cuff, which is what makes it special.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Do you think this episode, compared to the other one, gets the humour as good, or not really?
I think the other one had more shock value. So by the other episode, we're referring to Hero or Hate Crime in season 12. But I think this is more clever and in-depth. Like, Hero or Hate Crime is really funny, the fact of what happened to them, but this is more, there's a lot more that goes on behind it, and it builds for other episodes. It's just, I think the earlier seasons, maybe not the first one, but seasons 2 and 3 particularly, the characters start to find their stride, and their evilness and the things they do are like at their darkest point there. Where towards the later seasons, it's very funny, but it's expected, where this is like the first time we'll see them go to these lengths, and where you get that initial shock factor, which is kind of special. But yeah, it's a show like no other.
Well, thank you for helping, Luke. Hope you enjoyed the episode reaction of Always Sunny in Philadelphia, season 3, episode 4. Hit the notification bell, like and subscribe. See you in the next video. Let the force be with you. Bye-bye.